Hello, welcome to our Poetry Promenade 2021. Each year we ask our Key Stage 3 students at the end of the summer term to embark on some of their own original and creative poetry writing. And they're always incredibly enthusiastic, incredibly original and keen to share their ideas. This year's theme is nature, which perhaps is particularly appropriate in what has been a really unconventional year. I'd like to kick off our Poetry Promenade with a short poem by Judith Nichols called Wind Song. I am the seed that grew the tree, that gave the wood to make the page, to fill the book with poetry.
Trees, grass, water, that's all I could see. Not another person in sight, nor animal for that matter. I was alone, together with nature. The cruel kindness of the silent sky crept upon me. However, the tranquil breeze calmed me. The somniferous stream babbled and babbled until I became enriched with the sound throughout my whole body. Nothing could trouble me now until I realised I was not far from civilization. Did I want to go back? This escapism that I was in was coming to an end, and reality I would have to face.
Life in the Natural World by Benedict Teta. Sometimes I wake to the mellow scent of petrichor, other times I wake to the scent of bitter fruitfulness. I step outside my door and breathe in the fresh, sweet floral fragrance. I feel the sun's rays seeping through my body, making me feel warm inside. In the garden, I pick the fresh berries for my breakfast, each one tasting like a gift from the gods. As I walk around the forest, all I hear are the ants walking, carrying their huge luggage. I hear the birds singing their playful tune, chasing one another as they join in harmony. I hear the leaves rustling in the wind and the branches swaying. I see the huge trunks of trees covered in bark housing a number of animals, from aphids to owls, worms to squirrels, and grasshoppers to snakes. All is quiet, all is calm, all is right when you live in the natural world. All is quiet, all is calm, all is right when you listen to the natural world around you. All is quiet, all is calm, all is right when you take a moment to appreciate the earth. All is quiet, all is calm, and if everyone saw the earth for how it really is, and then all will become clear. Thank you.
The Guard Dog. The faithful hound sits at his master's side, guarding him from the cold, harsh environment. The man does not move. He lays still upon the cobbles, his hands cold, his chest still. Yet the dog remains, not realizing the futility of his efforts, braving the cold for a long-gone friend. Others walk by, ignoring the dog's plight, emphasizing the pointlessness of his faithful watch. The day goes by. The dog does not stir, seemingly joining his master in the finality of death. Both are at peace, together till the end and beyond, side by side and happy at last.
The Hunting Fox by Ewan White. In the gloom, the midnight moon, like a silver star, the fox goes hunting in the midnight sky, into the black cave like a gaping mouth. The fox goes hunting like a dart of the night. After the dark brown hair, out of the open cave, the fox comes hunting into the silvery light, into the urban city, around the red brick house. The fox goes hunting round people and cars, into the green brown trees, into the humid land. The fox goes hunting round the ebony trunks. Thank you.
I like the way when you go outside on a cold, cool, fresh day, it's almost like you can smell the nature in its own way. It feels like gravity is pulling you into thin air and putting you next to the trees with all sorts of chocolate brown and mint green leaves. Smelling the lawn, listening to the sheep letting out a large yawn. Spring is the best time to be outside, not too cold but you can feel the heat on the roadside.
I remember one of the first times I fed a lamb, walking up the field, approaching the fence, having the lamb skipping towards me from the other side. The warm milk flowing in my hands, the lambs sticking their heads through the slats in the fence, nibbling on my wellies as I stand. Fighting over the bottles, one standing strong, pushing each other out of the way, wresting the force from them for a long. Rocking back and forth as they drink until they sip the last little drip.
The century-old centurion. The fleshy leaves sway in the breeze, the century-old centurion. It stands tall and proud, guarding all the grounds, the century-old centurion. The birds sing their chorus as they soar through the air, but the century-old centurion just stands quietly there. Flowers bloom in colours of red, gold and black, but the century-old centurion just stands quietly in the back. Time ticks on, things disappear, never to return, but the all-protecting centurion stays firm. Even as the leaves turn from pea green to chocolatey brown, the century-old centurion defends the moonlit grounds. The people rushing by never notice the centurion's full story. They worry about exams and homework, always wanting glory. So if you were ever to visit the centurion, just remember this. It's the tallest tree swaying in the breeze, it's the one you cannot miss. It's the century-old centurion.
I'm going to read a poem by Robert Frost. I first came across this poem when I read, as a teenager, a novel called The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. She wrote it when she was 17. I think I was about 15 when I read it. And it's about loyalty and trust and friendship, and it has brilliantly named characters in it, Pony Boy, Dallas and Soda Pop. But the poem called Nothing Gold Can Stay is beautiful. It goes so well with the idea of being young and in the moment and living and enjoying life, because beauty is just momentary. You could find that a little bit depressing, but I choose to see it as hopeful, in that nature renews itself constantly, and therefore life is a series of fresh opportunities that we can make the most of. So I'm going to read for you now Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. Thank you.
This poem is about a mountain in the Lake Districts called Blencathra. Saddleback toots its horn, I play it too. And many play its song, and I think you should too. It's a song of sloping sides and high-born ridges that plunge upon a landscape where no tree is seen. And wind is allowed to howl free with wanderlust, fading as light dwindles. Wandering through fortitude dots mossy greens and peat bog marshes that light has never seen. They fill the ever-expanding occupancy of space. Its sharp cliffs shatter this reality, keeping it grounded and frail. And a long trek is needed to complete the majesty of its virtue, but the path is green, not grey.
One Man by Alex Kilner. At the dawn of humanity, one man lit a flame. It let him see the world around him, what he had to thank for it and what it was to blame. Beneath the great pyramids, one man stood proud, for he was to be buried under it and his ground. Surrounded by brothers of flesh and memories, one man sat on his throne. He rallied the spirit of his friends for war, to defend their great kingdom of Rome. A sword collapsed in his hand, one man felt victory and sorrow. He had freed his country from oppression's flame, and would forge a better tomorrow. Above a friend fallen on the floor, one man raised a wounded man. He carried his friend through a hellish battle, and soon a new life he began. He graved on a gravely yard amongst his friends, one man scored a goal. He would be as great as the prior heroes, but for now none would know.
Poison ivy, the poison coursing through your veins, the tick-tock of the invisible clock that counts down to your demise. Hiding amongst the trees, an imposter that lurks between the timid leaves, invisible to the average human. Rushing through the trees fast, almost as fast as a rash spreading up your arm. The fever kicks in, you feel nauseous. Trees begin to move, waving like the violent sea. The colours converge, becoming white. Your body aches, you want to sleep. Little do you know, you won't wake up from the deep sleep. Your body, lying there waiting to be claimed by the forest. The leaves spreading. Now another traveller walks over the strange uneven ground, only to touch the same secret killer, silently claiming its next victim. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
I wrote this song about a rainbow because I thought it would be a bright subject. Oh, rainbow in my eye, how you brighten up the sky. And although you mean rain, I hope I'll see you again. Oh, rainbow in my eye. Oh, rainbow in my eye, your light glistens through the rye. Even so, why does your beauty show only in the rain and snow? Oh, rainbow in my eye. Oh, rainbow in my eye, how your colours cool the sky. And so do the rivers overflow, for you were born long ago. Oh, rainbow in my eye. And as the rainbow stayed, the riverbanks decayed. Oh, rainbow in my eye, how your colours burn the sky. And the woe of you the land consumed, later the flowers bloomed, all because of the rainbow in my eye.
Like a flame igniting water itself, the creature rose from beneath. Unlucky eyes could now see the beast, and at the sight alone they fled their heath. It enveloped the sun, it cast shadow on all, it brought dead on those below, and made the greatest buildings fall. And as it fell upon those undeserving souls, it gave no mercy, pity, or remorse. For it was not a human nor an animal of the earth. It just made the ground broken and coarse. At last it fell upon a shattered earth. It will not be forgotten, but moved on from with mirth. By Alex Kilner, The Rage of Water.
This is The Peacock by Ted Hughes. A perfect peacock on the lawn pranced proudly through his paces, pecked at old pancakes, flared his fan like a hand of neon aces. But while we smiled, he sidled into the nursery flower bed. With quivering crown and scabby cheeks, he pecked off every head. He slept in the wood. His shawl of eyes drooped to the woodland floor. Oh, much as we admire his plumes, a fox admired him more.
The sun shone down like a light bulb for nature, yet not a single swan was scared of the creature. It looked down on a frog as it slowly crawled, the water not moving, green as an emerald. It stood there in the water, not moving, just still. The branches loomed above them, like a king on the hill. You may have wanted to visit this silent place, but nobody has been there to give the animals some space. Because just like animals, animals get scared. And if they are looked after, their lives may be spared. Let's save these animals from becoming extinct. Let's look after our planet from becoming unlinked. We should have done this many years ago, but now it is our time to watch our community grow, to celebrate our differences, our personalities too, instead of abusing our animals, old or new. Animals are beautiful, loving as well, even if they do sometimes let off a smell. Justice for all animals, big or small, they deserve our respect, short or tall. No matter how we feel or how we think, we should treat all animals if they were green or pink. So if we want to change, we must do it now. Take a big step forward and not back down.
It came with all of its fury, might, strength, hunger. It ate the bricks and the cars, and the buildings and the people. The ground shook and groaned. Cracks grew, racing up the walls. The buildings swayed and creaked. Glass showered the road. The people's anguished cries resonated through the cacophony of noise, whilst the beast, oblivious, ravaged the streets, swallowing the empty husks of buildings. The rain fell, pitying the lost souls in the carnage, each drop taking a unique path through the wreckage. The clouds hid the sky in the ruins from hope's anxious eyes. Its meal was over, and yet its wrath continued. Like a dog off its leash, it bolted through the remains, leaving no house or building standing. And in a sudden it stopped, paralysed. Then it left. It left. It left with all our buildings, possessions, memories and people. It left and left behind a trail of destruction.
Well, I've chosen a poem that's got a very personal reason behind it. And the reason that I've chosen this poem is that when I got married, my father read this to my husband. So you may make of that as you will. And it's called The Cloths of Heaven. And here it is. Had I the heavens embroidered cloths, enwrought with golden and silver light, the blue and the dim, and the dark cloths of night and light, and the half-light, I would spread the cloths under your feet. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams.
A world where the gods have been forgotten, a life where bloodshed controls the hollow brains of our ancestors. The fear of fear stops us from sleeping at night too often, all in Odin's name. Yet we wake up to a cloudless sun, we no longer have blood on our fingers, the pain once lured us into insanity is now gone, not in Odin's name. However isolated in the far north sits yet more of our modern sky, and yet when you look closer, a sense of spiritualism floods into your heart like a longboat in the hands of Njord. Noises fill your head, sounds of past lives, of battles, of campfires, of farms, of fear. And when belief hits you, a new world appears. The image of the past is recognised in the alien-like lights that strike the sky. The colours of emotion, the colours of belief surround you. And as you think that you have seen the greatest miracle, a bellowing voice awakens the world, a voice that states, I do not need eyes to see, for these lights guide me and my people. These lights are not torch lights nor candles, so these are the lights of the north.
Trepidation, tyranny, immobile incendiary, silently sleeping, destruction descending, civilization crippling, geothermal energy galore, soil saviour, tourist top spot, economy energizer, could you compare me?
Water. Water, water, I am innocent. At my presence, you are deeply efficient. Water, water, help me get away, because if you don't, I will be in dismay. Beautiful and luxurious, always looking curious, so many mysterious creatures that no one can fathom, beholding so many unusual features. With tough waves and twisting storms, can you survive and make it to the next dawn? Death-defying creatures looking for food, don't get caught out or you will be doomed. Terrifying temperatures, hot or cold, lightning and thundering, hat and gloves will not be sufficient. What are you hiding? Let me explore, but please don't get angry because my experiences are raw. Water, water, I am innocent. At my presence, you are deeply efficient. Water, water, help me get away, because if you don't, I will be in dismay.
So Mrs Ramsden and myself, we're going to read some absolutely lovely poetry by boys in Year 9 who have been writing about nature.
The Winding Journey. The winding journey, ravenous caverns, twisting and turning into the thicket, the dense undergrowth, entangling more every time. The gargantuan drop, hypnotising the rocks to crumble, to fall, crunching beneath my feet. But I manage to hang on every time.
And this is a poem on a similar theme, although it doesn't have a title. Far beyond the eye can see, on the bare horizon, the bells are rung and men ran. A glowering stare from the eye of the storm. Flowers shrivelled, houses lay uneasy, the dirt heartbeats rose, wind gathered its thoughts. A calm before the storm. Suddenly a thunderous applause, flashes of lightning, The gods were unsettled, splattering rain spitting on the people. Yet all is gone, the storm, the houses, and a mother's son. A family is ripped apart.
The crystal glass water as still as can be, the silent surroundings with nothing to break peace, the brittle tree imposing over me, the orange sky like a blanket comforting the land, the mystical swans effortlessly gliding through the water, the sun casting rays warming the water, the embers of light cascading through the leaves. No human had ever been to this place, just to give the animals some space, until one person stumbled across this lake. Nowadays people race to this place, but no animals grace the lake. To reiterate, the lesson to be learned is to embrace any place and don't intrude on other space.
Nature's beauty, a reflection of creation's song. It lives within, like we're spoken into being together, and so belong. From the darkest night to the whitest light of day, there is a beauty to nature that speaks in our way. As nature is everywhere, everything that lives and grows, a bounty of green, an outstretched hand to call our own. Its beauty comes as if she is God's daydream, an archway of flora, a radiant beam.
Bing bang bong on the warning bell, the colour of heaven but the feeling of hell, rips out the balance and into its place, inserts its own chaos whilst pounding my face. These little white balls, after leaving the seas, enter the skies, turn quite cold and then freeze. Their clouds in the sky close it off to the sun, then drop their barrage and the storm has begun. I stood on the ground as the storm still raged on. 'Twas over my house, the thatched roof was gone. The walls were collapsed, only made of fresh pine. After last year's disaster, there was simply no time to build some defences for my house and fields. Oh no, what was that? My precious corn yield. The devilish white now stood over my farm. Unrelenting as ever, all the crops came to harm. The beetroot, potatoes, and all the hay bales were torn clean apart by the force of the hail. Uprooted, destroyed, and the ground just a mess, one of the pawns in the earth's game of chess. There was no more resource for the food for my face. Then out came the shout of, "Brace yourself, brace!" A plane was descending to the close landing strip, but the raging bombardment caused its nose to dip. This large hunk of metal, falling down from the sky, splashed down in some mud. What a cruel last goodbye. Possessions of mine and the lives on the plain were all now destroyed, thanks to some frozen rain. But what we now saw was Earth's true full force. Not man, not bird, not even a horse was safe from the pounding, and then with a crash, the thunder came over, no more was a splash. Heard in the water, the hailstone no more, but left in its wake was a scene worse than war. The rain fell right down and washed blood away, down to my crops. At the end of the day, it would be a good harvest in the name of the dead. Each year I'd plant flowers in my small flower bed. This square of wet dirt not wavering at all, in support of its children as they became tall. The next time the hail came, they stood high and proud, so different from the grieving shrieks that did abound. But there is one thing I ask of whoever hears this, that you may keep the memory of those who no more feel bliss. Plant just one flower for a life that is gone, so that when it will blossom, it will be a new dawn. So goodbye to you all, I must tend to my crops. Let's hope that before the hail gets here it stops.
The Stars by Alex Kilner. Most towering of the planets, a lord of the night, a god amongst all the mortals, the greatest of all lights. Feared by the evil, praised by the good, circled by the worlds, relied on by moods. Centre of all life, giver to those once blind, burner to the trees, servant to those reclined.
Aqua. Finally, after days of sun, the rain came down, like shades of glass, persecuting the ground, bit by bit. The trees, however, were mannequins, holding the green, thirsty leaves, which were drinking the rain, drop after drop, leaving no water for the scorched ground, which was nonchalantly decaying, until eventually it would be too arid to support the deceived trees. Gone, too gone.
Hi, my name's Bhargav Maineni, and I'm going to be doing a poem on Sudan the white rhino. So Sudan was the final white rhino, and I based my poem off this article here. It was about poachers and how Sudan was the final male white rhino in his species, and how he had to be pressured into doing things that he didn't have to do. And here's my poem, Sudan the final white rhino. Sudan doesn't know how precious he is, his head a marvellous thing it is, a majestic rectangle of leathery flesh, tortured by the beating heart of stress. Under his looming shoulder, his mighty head thunders. His armour dented and bruised, his soul cursed and abused. Beneath the sinister sky, Sudan's head lies. As he looks upon his life, his body filled with strife, his job incomplete, his age too deep. The ancestors say humans must pay for the job they did today.
The fungal tree, the pale green leaves, the gentle touch. The blue glaze of the sky, coated in beauty. Slow down and look at the world. Life comes in a flash. You just have to be ready. Slow down and look at the world. Sometimes you have to love to be loved. Appreciation is your worth, and love is life's worth.
I've chosen the poem The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. I've liked this for a while, but I think particularly in the time of COVID, this has really reminded me of the solace that you can get from nature. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still waters, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world, and am free.
Winter, a new start. The seasons give the life to the bleak world of living hell, giving the world the less thought of despair. The spirits are being fed aspiration, the spirits which lead the world through the darkest of days. When the earth shows its beauty behind the advertisement which covers the truth of pain, behind every face of gloom lay the faces of despair. Why make them live longer? To suffer the pain which lives within. Spring is the home of death. Nothing or no one can deny it. Winter, a new start for a new beginning. Winter gives hope for a new way of living. Hope for a new world, hope for a new life, symbolizing creation.
It's okay, so go from hope from
Hope for a new way of living, hope for a new world, hope for a new life, symbolizing creation for the new day to come.
This is a poem that we read in class called The Fight of the Year by Robert McGowan. We hope you like it.
And there goes the bell for the third month, and winter comes out of its corner looking groggy. Spring leads with a left to the head and a sharp right to the body.
Daffodils, primroses, crocuses, snowdrops, lilacs, violets, pussy willow.
Winter can't take much more punishment, and spring shows no sign of tiring.
Tadpoles, squirrels, bar lambs, badgers, bunny rabbits, mad March hares, hounds and horses.
Spring is merciless. Winter can't go the full 10 rounds.
Bobtail cows, scallywag wings, the sun, a paving artist in every town.
A left to the chin, and winter's down!
1 tomato, 2 radish, 3 cucumber, 4 onions, 5 beetroot, 6 celery, 7 anemone, 8 around, 9 of lettuce, 10 for dinner.
And winter's out for the count! Spring is the winner!